Ukrainian intelligence sources say a Russian warship has been damaged in a drone attack on Russia's Black Sea naval base in Novorossiysk. This video, published on social media, appears to show the seaborne drone moments before it hits the ship. Ukraine says the Russian vessel was seriously damaged. Other online videos show the Russian landing ship listing and being towed to shore. Russia's defense ministry says the Ukrainian attack was foiled and did not admit any damage to its warships. For more, we're joined now by Domitila Sagramoso. She's a senior lecturer in security and development at King's College London. Good to see you again. Now, beyond this warship allegedly being rendered useless, this is also the first time a commercial Russian port has been targeted since the start of the war. What does all of this tell us about Ukraine's military capabilities at this point in the war?
Yes, it is very interesting because if we look at the start of the war, Russia had very much a sort of dominance of the Black Sea region. It managed to sort of neutralize the Ukrainian small navy. It also blockaded most of the Ukrainian coast, making it very hard for Ukraine, as we know, to export its products before the grain deal was signed. It also uses very much its vessels in the Black Sea to fire missiles, cruise missiles on Ukrainian ports and Ukrainian cities. So the Black Sea has really been a very important area, or a theater of war, and an area where Russia traditionally has had a predominance. It has also used the area to provide sort of replenishment to its forces in Crimea and along the sort of the land bridge that unites the Donbas to Crimea. But what we are seeing now is that the Ukrainians have been able to hit at Russian naval forces. This doesn't mean necessarily that the Russian Navy is going to face severe difficulties. It is a very big naval force, over 50 vessels, 7 submarines, and a lot of support vessels. So this has, in my view, more of a symbolic value, and it shows, it indicates to the Russians that they need to be much more careful. It might force them to transfer some of the fleets to more safer regions. And it also shows that, there are no areas that are in the Black Sea in a way beyond reach. This is a very important port. The port of Novorossiysk is also a very important commercial port where a lot of the exports of Russia transit, including oil from the Caspian, from Kazakhstan. So I think this might be seen as a blow. And what it indicates also is that this, unmanned naval drones, can inflict significant damage. And this is also quite transformative.
What is striking, though, is that the number of attacks in the Black Sea has increased significantly from both sides since the grain deal ended last month. So is the Black Sea now going to be a major battleground in the war, or is it going to be isolated incidents?
I think it is, and I think that since Russia pulled away from the grain deal, which was at the end of July, it has tried to limit the ability of Ukraine to export. It has not only attacked Ukraine's grain facilities in the area around Odessa, but it has also, as we know, in the last week or so, attacked also grain facilities along the Danube, which was sort of the alternative route that Ukraine was using to export its grain. So Russia is clearly trying to reinforce this sort of naval blockade on Ukraine and making it harder for Ukraine to export by hitting at port facilities and grain facilities. And this has had an impact on the ability of Ukraine to carry out with its exports. And at the same time, the Ukrainians have been trying to hit at Russian vessels to see if they could in some way deter them from operating in this area. So definitely we're seeing a sort of a worsening of the military situation around the Black Sea, which is very unfortunate.
That's Domitila Sagramoso from King's College in London. Always great speaking to you. Thank you so much for your input.
Thank you. Thank you.
And for more on that, we are now joined by DW's Matthias Böllinger, who's reporting from Kyiv, and DW's Jennifer Parker, who joins us from Riga, as DW is banned from reporting in Russia. Matthias, to you first. How successful have Ukraine's naval operations been in this war?
So this, of course, is a spectacular thing to attack a ship in its home port on Russian soil. This is not even a port that is on the occupied territories of Ukraine with a remote-controlled drone. So there have been another few spectacular actions. The sinking of the Moskva, one of the flagships of this Black Sea fleet that Russia is immensely proud of, was sunk in the beginning of the war, and a few others. If you look at the situation, these achievements are even more spectacular, considering that Ukraine has lost most of its ships in the beginning of the war when Russia captured the port of Berdyansk, or a big part of its ships, and that Russia's navy was never, that Ukraine's navy never matched that of Russia, and Russia has not been able to use its advantage on the sea as much as one had expected in the beginning. For example, this was a landing ship that was damaged today. There have been no attempts at landing on Ukraine's shores. However, Russia's fleet is a decisive factor in blocking the ports, blocking grain exports from Ukraine. That does a lot of damage to Ukraine, and also in firing missiles on Ukrainian territory, because ships and planes are the two carriers for missiles that Russia can use, having no missiles or mid-range missiles that can be fired from the ground. So all these acts at disturbing Russia's operations on sea and hitting this fleet, they are, of course, significant for Ukraine.
Jennifer, we see Ukraine is celebrating this as a success, as it would, while Moscow continues to deny that the ship was hit. Tell us more about this reaction from Russia.
Of course, the Russian Defense Ministry denied the reports that drones heavily damaged one of its ships straight away, as is the typical Russian modus operandi. They admitted that there has been a drone attack, but stated that it was successfully repelled. According to the ministry, Russian ships destroyed 2 Ukrainian drones at night that were trying to attack the naval base of Novorossiysk. There were no casualties or damage, authorities said. The Caspian Pipeline Consortium announced a temporary ban on ship movements that since then has been lifted and work has been resumed. According to a Transneft spokesperson, there has been no damage to the infrastructure as well. Still, the Russian denial could not stop videos from appearing on social media. Also, residents of Novorossiysk filmed the warship tilted on its side, being towed to the port.
DW's Jennifer Parker in Riga there, and Matthias Böllinger reporting from Kyiv. Thank you very much to both of you.